everybody, and thanks for tuning in again to Brews Reviews, where we grab a delicious coffee off the shelf and we brew it up. So if you click through to our Wolff College of Coffee YouTube page, you'll see why this is my favorite method of brewing coffee. And today I'd like to take you through how I make a cold brew using the Aeropress. So all you'll need is your Aeropress and some cold water and some coffee. Now the cold water I'm using today is a chilled, filtered bottled water, and why I love this ingredient so much is you can pretty much find it anywhere in the world. So when I like to travel, it's always something I keep in my backpack, and that way I can brew coffee anywhere I am. So today's coffee is from Kenya, grown in the Central Highlands, known in an area as Thika. This coffee is produced by Boyce Harries, who's a Kenyan producer, and he's actually put up some videos on Wolff College of Coffee speaking specifically about his processing methods. And today we're going to be using his dried in the fruit or natural processing method on a variety well known in Kenya called the French Mission variety. Now this coffee, when brewed hot, has a delicious syrupy body with notes of rhubarb, and brewed cold, I really find those turn into a very sweet caramelly body that just keeps lingering on. So I'll get started on how we're going to make a cold brew Aeropress. So first up, I'm using a brew ratio of 1 to 13.75, or 16 grams of coffee to 220 mils of cold water. So I'm going to measure out my 16 grams of coffee, and I'm going to grind that on a setting of 6. Now, anytime I'm talking to somebody about grinding coffee, because every grinder varies a lot in the numbers in the dial. So I always like to bring it to a scale of 1 to 10. And if you're going to grind your Turkish coffee on a 1 and your French press coffee on a 10, I'm still going to be putting this around a 6 or a 5. So it's about halfway. Generally with my hot Aeropresses, I probably do it around a 6 or a 7. I like my steep times to be a little bit longer. However, with cold water, I want to improve the extraction, and with cold water it'll be a little bit slower, and that is why I'm going to grind this a little bit finer. So once I've ground the coffee, I'm going to throw that into my Aeropress, and I'm going to add cold water halfway. Now you'll notice the grinds when using cold water take a little bit longer to get wet, so some good agitation is important to make sure all those grinds are wet before you place the cap on. Once I've given it a stir, I'm going to fill it all the way up to 220 mils. I've pre-wet my paper filter and placed that in the cap, and I just put that on my Aeropress now. So I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. I'm going to let this steep in the inverted method before I plunge. What I love about this cold brew Aeropress method is it really enhances the sweetness without brightening too much of the acidity, and creates a complexity in the cup that really carries forwards from start to finish. So at the 10 minutes, I'm going to grab my vessel, place it on top of my Aeropress, and then flip it over. At this point, I'm going to begin to plunge. Now, I don't want to plunge too hard down onto the Aeropress. What this can do is perforate the paper filter and allow all those grinds to go into my brew, or also come out the sides of my Aeropress. Should take only around 20 to 30 seconds to do a full plunge. If it's harder to do, then you want to coarsen up your grind. It's obviously creating some back pressure there, and if you're pushing down and it's coming out too easily, then perhaps just touching it up finer on your grind will allow that plunge a little bit easier. So once you've pushed it all out, again, one of the reasons I love the Aeropress is it's so easy to clean, so I'm taking that cap off and I'm popping out that puck. Once there, you're left with the delicious cold brew that you can enjoy or keep in the fridge and come back to anytime you want. So I can't talk highly enough about the Aeropress. It is, again, my favorite way of making coffee. I have a few more videos I'd like to do up on other methods and other ways of brewing coffee with the Aeropress. So keep an eye on our YouTube page for more brews reviews from me and the Aeropress. Thanks for tuning in again. All the brews to you.